Let me.
Yes.
It's incredible. It doesn't destruct very easily.
Creatures love to nest under it. You know, the roly-polies, and I found a roach or two, and little spiders, the whole little ecosystem under there. And so as I would roll earthworms, I would leave it alone so that the bugs could go elsewhere or to dig deeper, because I didn't want to harm them. And then, so it was really, but it's what I love to do.
Yes, and that shows.
Yeah, and then the week before, I have a neighbor has her mom in hospice, and they take impeccable care of their yard. And Russ and I were watching some stone steps that they put in disappear, vanishing, being covered by grass. So I said we'd like to uncover a few of them. We didn't know how many had been covered, but it was fun to stick around the dirt, find them. And then because they are not rooted, they're over steps, you take your finger and you can burp them, you know, and you feel the air come out over your hands, and then you trim around, and we took the grass and planted the grass elsewhere, and it was kind of fun.
My goodness, lots of learning and experience there. That's fantastic, Tammy. Thank you.
You bet.
Everybody's been kind of assembling here. We've got about 14 of us, and I bet we're going to have some more. Welcome to July. We've got a jam-packed webinar, actually, so I'm going to dive in. I have some announcements. I have some questions that I need to answer. And then we're going to do a root check-in. And then we're going to dive into the flow, where I'm going to do a very quick intro, because most of you would have seen the intro on the flow recorded webinar, which I know was really long, so you'll just have to pause it and step out, do other things, you know, however you listen to those things. And then I'm going to introduce to you the 7 creatives, and we're going to get into that space. So, all right, you ready, everybody? Take a nice deep breath. We are on July 1st. Yeah, let me think about it. Yeah, just about everybody is. Yes, we're all officially in July. I'm just thinking of we have somebody in Japan, so nobody in Australia. So I think all of us are still on July 1. So here we are. Let me just do a couple of announcements and do some check-ins here. I'm going to blow this up into a big screen. Okay, I'm seeing some of your faces. Hello, Robin. Hello, Mary Ellen. Barbed Wire. These are the faces I'm seeing here, but I know that we have others on the line too. Good. Okay, let us just, I want to talk about the root. I want to talk about the month of June and where we stand. You see how I use that metaphor very deliberately? Where we stand. Where did we land with the root? Somebody had a great question about the root, and that was, what do we do if we don't feel like we did enough on the root, and we didn't do all the assignments, we didn't, you know, maybe we didn't watch all the webinars, maybe we weren't present at the webinar? Here is my intuitive, flowy response to that, and this is just immediate. It's all perfect. It's all perfect. Let your root just take that in for a second, how perfect it is that you did whatever you did for the root. Okay, this is not about needing to check off boxes like, oh my gosh, if I didn't do that, then I'm not going to get a result. I want us to dismantle a lot of our societal programming and ways that we have been taught to think about everything, because healing in this realm of deep spiritual interconnected growth works very different than what we've been taught in a linear model. So in this model of chakras, it's circular, it's interconnected. So here's the phrase I got immediately from this. And by the way, I'm teaching this whole experience. As we move through this, I am as much in the flow as I'm really anticipating that all of you are, like really just trying to tear down expectations, structures, allowing for us to be in the moment of wherever we need to be. So the phrase I got immediately for this question is, within one is in the whole, within the whole is one. So what does this mean regarding the question? that when we work on the flow, you're going to be working on the root. You're actually going to be working on all of them. So even though we're going to have a little bit more targeted action into the flow, we cannot talk about the flow without actually rippling through and getting into the root, getting into the fire. We haven't even touched and even broached the topic of the fire. But when we approach one of these, it's like a universe of all of them. So I want you to really come from the place of knowing and to trust yourself, to trust me, and to trust this magical, magical process that whatever you need is going to show up. It's going to show up. And not only that, but what I was sensing, it was Saturday night. I went for my evening walk, and it was like that moment right before the sun is fully set, you know, and I'm just in this deep reflection as I'm walking, because I like to do my meditations when I walk. And I'm feeling like, you know what, because these systems are so circular and interconnected, that I want us to come full circle on the root again. Because the root has a lot of growth and potential for us. And I almost feel like once we go through every system, I want us to all like ground back into the foundation and anchor all of that learning. Okay. And so we're making a circle rather than seeing this as like a string of Christmas tree lights. Imagine this as a circle, but interconnected, kind of like a flower of life where there is no separation between each of these. We're going to approach them a little bit that way where we give more focus, but they are all interconnected. So free month in January, if you want to stay on. I wanted to get your take on that because I don't want to do this experience and have some of you break away and then others of you stay on. You know, you don't have to be actively engaged, but even passively being on the Facebook page, listening to the webinars. Okay, Tracy is saying, she's commenting here, I really like this thinking of a circle, I'm in. If you're not in, let me know that too. Okay, Lisa, you like that too. Jane, you really like this idea. Yeah, January to me also feels kind of nice because it is new year, we'll be in 2020 and off to our rooty start. Right? A new foundation. So unless I hear objections, we will move forward on it. But I do want to go with the majority of, you know, because we're creating a container here. We are creating a container of all of us. And so it's really important that we kind of stay connected in our web. All right. Robin is saying, sounds great. Markella is saying, I love it. Alicia, you're saying, I agree, I'm in. Okay, awesome. I'm hearing some Barbie, ditto. Okay, goody. All right. So again, email me if there are absolute objections. Okay. Now another change to the program, as Heather and I were mapping out the weeks, we noticed that, well, the months aren't all even in terms of 4 weeks. You know, some of them are a little longer, some of them are a little shorter. So in perfect alignment and in trust with this process, what it naturally seemed to give us was that at the end of August, starting the week of August 26th, we have a little bit of a break in between. And this is perfect. It is so perfect because oftentimes what I have noticed going through the chakras or the systems and really embracing this is that when we get through the warming colors, red, orange, yellow, people need a break. It's kind of like, whoa, I need some integration before we move on to the cooling colors and get into the love. And it just works out that we have kind of this wiggle room week, because if we were to jump right into the love, it would move everything forward and we wouldn't be ending at the end of December. So we're going to do an integration week of root, flow, and fire, the root chakra, sacral chakra, and solar plexus chakra, the last week in August. So we'll do some sharing about that. But I just wanted to give you a heads up that there'll be a little bit more integration. And this is it's really good that this is happening because many people have noticed this, that they need that because these are heavy. These are heavy areas. And if I teach this course again, what I might actually do is start from the crown and take us down because people seem to have an easier time with talking about these things. It's sticky and earthy and muddy into these physical chakras. So, but anyway, it is what it is. And again, trusting the process, but we are going to have a 1-week integration. Good. Tracy likes that idea. Another thing I'm noticing, Kelly had shared, I know Tracy had a birthday in June. Kelly is having her 50th birthday. Jane is having a birthday in July. Birthdays are it's one way to celebrate the root chakra, actually, because it is your identity. It's when you came into flesh. And so chime in on this too, if you would like to do just something like a June birthday. We'd have to go back and capture the June birthdays. We can celebrate the July. And that just means like a little bit of a post. And Tammy, did you have a birthday in June too? You could just nod your head. No. Okay. For some reason, I thought you did. Obviously, we won't capture some months, but I was thinking, okay, Bridget has a birthday in July. So, let's just, I'll create a little bit of birthday thread, but I don't know everybody's birth dates. So if you want us to celebrate and chime in on that, let's do a little bit of that celebration every month. Okay. Super. Kelly posted today, and I'm not sure if Kelly's on because she was picking up her son. Wait, she is. I see her. Okay, Kelly, you are on here. I really loved Kelly's share. Kelly wrote a very nice email to me about what was happening for her with the Root Month. And she also made a wonderful post on our page and put in some photos. And to me, I always love this because I get inspired with ideas about how people think. Because, we're within our own boxes and silos of how we think. And oftentimes we need that additional fluidity to see things a different way. So Kelly, what I did here was I cut and posted on the slide what your post said on our Facebook group. So let me just hit some highlights of what Kelly said here. She was giving her root summary. She says, I know we are now officially in the flow, but I wanted to share my summary of what I did for the root before I move into the flow. She spent a lot of time, especially in the past 2 weeks, being introspective and journaling in her new Rainbow Journal. And by the way, some of you have emailed me saying, Deanna, I want a little bit more of an introspective approach to this journey, so I may not share as much, but it's not because I'm not enjoying the course. It's just because I'm just feeling like inner reflection. So I just want to pause and just say that whatever your process is your process. This is your journey. So I honor that. She says, I spent a lot of time connecting with my new half-sisters on both my mom's and dad's side. She bought turnips and parsnips for the first time ever in her life. That's so awesome. I'd be curious to hear how you prepared those, Kelly. She discovered Don Miguel Ruiz's books. If you don't know Don Miguel Ruiz, wonderful book called The 4 Agreements, and then later came out with The 5 Agreements. I absolutely love that work as well. She says, the colors on the cover are what first drew me to them while I was browsing in the bookstore, but then I was hooked as soon as I took a closer look inside. So pay attention to different people that come into your life. Like if your eyes just happen to capture a book or a title, or you see something on social media, or whatever, just kind of notice what's coming your way and what you have some interest in. And even if you're not able to delve into it, make a note in your journal. Make a note in your journal. I have one journal that I just use for it. I call it kind of my ideation journal. It's like stuff that I can't do immediately, but I park it. I park words, thoughts, ideas, people I need to connect with. I just park it, because if I don't park it somewhere, then it's like my mind is trying to spend energy to remember these things. And I don't know about you, but I only have so much mental capacity and energy too. Kelly also bought red tinted sunglasses. Nice to view things from a rosy perspective. I love that symbology. She gave her feet some long overdue loving care. Wonderful. She felt eagle as her power animal when she discovered what she believed to be an eagle feather in her yard. Then remembered when she took a close look at her fireplace mantle that she apparently had a thing for pigs. So then she learned all about pigs. I love that. And she even posted a picture of a photograph of a figurine of one of the pigs. She says, the 2 little pigs we had bought on a Mexican beach in 2015 as a gift for somebody, but then I love them so much we kept them on our mantle. Then the black piggy bank belonged to my husband's stepmom, who passed from cancer a couple of summers ago and was given to us by my father-in-law. I sat it on the mantle initially just for a temporary spot, but now it's 3 years later and it's still here. So there must be something about pigs I'm drawn to. So I'll be turning 50 in a couple of weeks. She reflected on a list of her 40 things to do in her 40s. And now she made her list of 50 things to do in her 50. I love that idea. It's really nice too, because the root chakra is all about from in utero to the age of 10. It's when you form your identity. And if you've listened to the webinar on the flow, you know that we're going to get into the teenage years. So it doesn't mean that you can't go back retrospectively and kind of reflect on your decades and what they most taught you. She's doing it in a more prospective way, looking forward, but you can also do this for fun, going back. She spent a lot of time outside in nature. She discovered burning incense can be relaxing or energizing for her. And for her creative efforts, she used her past love of scrapbooking to create a root page. So here's her scrapbook page. I don't know if you all saw this. I absolutely love it. And this actually inspired me, because I'm not a scrapbooker, but I feel that, gosh, I could do this. Like, this is pretty inspiring. This makes me feel like kind of a storyboard or a vision board, but it's a book. You know, it's kind of like journaling, but in a pictorial way. So, the root. I'm going to give us all a chance to chime in on any comments we want to make. This is some art by Manami Lingerfeld. I love Manami's work, and I became acquainted with her in 2013, and I asked her, I gave her all the root words, and I said, Manami, create me an art piece that brings those together. And I was thinking, how the heck is she going to do that with all these disparate words? But here is the root. Square, grounded, beats, earthy. I mean, look at those roots. It's almost like a heart going into the DNA, right? Really connected. So let me pause. I just did a lot of talking, and see if any of you would like to share anything about your root before we make the final transition now into flow. But I really want to, again, respect the root and check in and give it a final energetic send-off for June as we make our way now into flow. Who would like to express? I mean, even if you felt like you didn't do much, or you didn't do the things you wanted to do, or things that came up and showed up for you. Just so you know, a lot of people have emailed me, and I'm really, it's amazing what some of you are really moving through. You're going through a lot. So I want us all to hold each other in sacred space on that. Lisa, did you unmute yourself?
I did.
Yay! Let's hear from you.
Me, Tracy?
Oh, you're Tracy. Okay. I thought it was Lisa. Oh, pop up. There you are.
Zeus has something to say.
Please do.
Yeah. Okay, that's enough. He's deaf.
He wants to join in on the root.
Apparently he does. Well, I really think with all the work that I've been doing with you over the years that I feel way more rooty than I ever have. I mean, it's still not perfect by any means, but it feels so appropriate to be going towards the flow. It's, okay, Tracy, you've been doing all this work. Now what's your next step going to be? And then I get scared. And this has all just been in the last day or two going, okay, you don't have that excuse anymore. So I'm a little bit battling with that, kind of going back and forth, but at the same time being pretty excited.
Say more on the root for you, though. Did you have any fear getting into the root, or was the root you felt pretty comfortable for you?
I've been doing so much shadow work,
yeah,
that the root does feel more comfortable. I'm more comfortable with the uncomfortableness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does to me.
There's still just a ton of uncomfortable there, but I can view it more with compassion for myself and maybe the other persons or events that I'm feeling the uncomfortableness with. so it's a new, I don't know, it's just a new feeling for me. And while I still feel like I hide a little bit from the world, um, I'm feeling more like it's time to start moving more forward.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't know what that looks like. I have no idea. But
Being more visible.
I don't know. I'm just more comfortable with the uncomfortable.
That's beautiful. So then you don't have the stress response. You don't have the fear that often comes up with the uncomfortable, right? It's like the not knowingness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely. Most definitely. But I like it. I guess it just takes you to get to hit 65 before you figure it out. But
well, it's always a process, right? You know, a lot of these are like a spiral.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, fits and starts, fits and starts, fits and
oh,
starts.
yeah. I've had a few of those.
How are you with, as you're talking, I'm getting this sense with you and your native call to Hawaii. And when I think of and feel out you and your root and our previous discussions, I'm wondering about your feeling about that land versus where you are in Portland.
It's night and day. But the interesting thing is while I feel that home is closer, or getting back home to Hawaii is much closer, I and again, it's really kind of this small geographical area for me, but I feel like I have much more of a connection to my house and my yard, and I have a very happy relationship with it. And possibly coming to that point of just such unconditional love with this particular spot. And I am, unfortunately, while I really like Oregon a lot, I can't say that it's for the whole state. But once I get to this spot of unconditional love, then it's going to be so much easier to go, okay, it's part of that flow, the flow, and to move on and to go there. I look at Zillow every day.
Oh, really? You do?
I do. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, let's see what happens with that.
Yeah, I'm up for it. Can't wait for you to visit.
I'm sensing greater acceptance, definitely greater acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a peace in how you're speaking and what you're speaking of. It feels really good.
Yeah, I feel it too, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for kicking my butt in this work.
I'm kicking your butt?
It's a good thing. I mean, that's not a bad thing.
I can kick your butt. This is no butt kicking yet.
Okay, I'm signing off.
All right. Thanks for sharing. All right. Let's do 2 more shares before we move on. Oh, Carol. Carol is saying she can't find the race. Carol, just can you unmute yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I just wanted to say that when I communicated with you through the email, it was like an epiphany when I shared with you that I felt like I was uprooted and ready for replanting. And I have never thought of those words when we were doing root. And it was just, it has been like a total shift in how I'm thinking of things. Instead of feeling like I don't have my feet in the ground and it was like all negative, it just came to me, well, you're uprooted. It's time to replant. So I just wanted to share that because I didn't know if anybody else felt that would resonate with them.
I love that. It's kind of like Tammy's metaphor with the time, the German time, and how it just, it finds new roots and it's constantly crawling and, it's low to the ground and it's seeking out new potential for new spots to flourish. So let's go with Carol's question to the community here. So does anybody else feel that sense of replanting? Jane, did you want to comment? You're texting here.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Carol, I picked up on, I think I also emailed Deanna back and had picked up on that idea of being uprooted and replanted in the summary that was on the Facebook page. And I didn't know where it had come from at that point in time, but that really resonated with me as well. I hadn't thought about that in the root either, but I could see that image of kind of being pulled out and then kind of landing elsewhere with some different opportunities and maybe some different ways of turning things upside down a little bit and starting to kind of flourish in a different place. And I think that's what those few words said to me over the weekend, and that was a sense of kind of what I'd had some of that going on. So so thank you for that concept, and thank you, Deanna, for passing it on. Really,
So you're
visual as well. It's a lovely visual too. So
it is. I love all these root words. Alicia, Alma and Alicia, let's have you both chime in here. Let's see if we can scroll down to Alicia so we can see her and Alma. Alma, you've had your hand, I think you were doing this for a while, right? You had your hand up. Let's have you unmuted. Hi, we can hear you.
Yes, I was talking to myself. Well, I'll try to share briefly and in a structured way, but there's been lots of things. First of all, it was quite grounding to talk to Markel when we had our FaceTime, because she helped me structure my goals for the near future. So that was, I think that's the most grounding, one of the most grounding experiences I've had this month. Also, and I felt very uprooted. I felt I don't feel in my root, like strongly planted, and that's because I'm away from my family. We're adults, and it's been on and off for 4 years. So that's hurtful. But also, I found last week I hurt my eye, and 3 of my friends came over in very quickly, helped me out, took me to the doctor. So that was a really nice experience in terms of having my tribe, which is, they're not my family, but they're very close friends. So that was really, really nice. Then I've also been working on doing gardening and working with kids. And really, it's a combination of root and flow. And when I was I have these flashcards for mindfulness games for kids. So I just picked one, and the exercise was on being grounded to the root, teaching kids how to glue their feet to the ground. So that was really nice. And lastly, regarding food, I've tried different colors and everything, but I don't feel grounded. On the contrary, I feel a lot of anxiety around food. And I'm acknowledging now that I use it to feel good, to cheer up myself. So that's something I want to work on through all the chakras, basically. Yeah. Wow. So that's my month, my first month in a summary.
That's a very robust check-in. That's amazing. I took a couple of notes here, and I'm just observing even behind you, these Post-it notes, you look like you've got a nice route in place with structure and reminders. And so that's always nice too. So food. Markel, do you want to comment about your experience together, how you two have been interrelating just with it sounds like you two had a nice connection through your meetings. I don't want to catch you off guard, but if you're able to speak, that'd be great.
Hi. Yes, we had a really nice meeting with Emma, and actually we need to reconnect so we can talk again. about, her discoveries and her route, her goals, as well as me sharing. We haven't done that yet, but there's still time. We can do that. But yeah, it's good to get to know other people with different backgrounds and different goals and expectations, and I enjoy that.
Yes. Yes. And that's in part why we have connected certain people with certain people. Heather did kind of the first cut of matching people, and then I looked through the names and I said, no, I think these people know each other too well. Let's jumble this up a little bit. And so there was a lot of intention in setting forth the partners. So what I heard from some of you is that you're just really getting going with your partners and really liking it, some of you, and you wanted to stay on with your partners in July, which is absolutely fine. And again, this is the flow. It's a beautiful as I was telling Heather this morning, I said, this is exactly what I was looking for during the root month. And it's now happening with the flow, where people are saying, no, I'm feeling like this partnership is really nice, and I'm going to continue with this. So good. Let's have two other shares from Alicia and then from Robin, and then we'll proceed. Alicia, did you want to, I just unmuted you.
Hi. Yeah, so as I said, over the past year, I have felt very uprooted. So I retired in November of 2018 after 32 years of working in the corporate world. And last year in the spring, we sold our home after 25 years of our family living together, and then bought a tear down and have been building a new home and then living in a rental for the past year while our home was being built. And now finally moved in, but things still aren't done. So I've never felt so much, I don't think it's really instability, but just not feeling like I've planted my feet and feeling secure about my whole situation. And always having a lot of structure in my life and having to be extremely organized. And now with this new path that I'm on, I don't have a routine, and I'm trying to establish a new routine. And that can create a lot of anxiety because your behaviors and your habits, you're so used to doing so many certain things a certain way, and now it's not that way anymore. So it's been really interesting. But I have noticed, so our yard is finally going in this week if the rain stops. And I'm just so excited about being able to be outside, work in my yard, and do some of those grounding activities that make me feel good. And also just every day taking a very long walk along the lake and not being able to, have any distractions, but just, getting lost in nature is really what's been kind of fun for me lately.
Wow. Gosh, you have been going through a lot of uprooting, moving away from a long-term job, everything very long-term. And so now you're in that mode of recreation.
Right.
I sense that even more than looking at your route, looking at the flow is going to be really important for you.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, there's something here that's swirling and spiraling for you, and it feels really good to me. Like I feel like there's some kind of just a beautiful potential that's awaiting. Like you're in that state, that void of creation.
Right.
Which is a very powerful, beautiful place to be. And for many people can feel very uncertain and grounding because it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know where to land.
Right.
On the other side, it could be like, wow, I get to put some paint on my canvas and to start experimenting with colors. I'm talking metaphorically now.
Yes.
But
Right.
Yeah, different choices and where that can take you.
The problem is, though, is like, I feel like I'm all over the place because I have so many interests and really trying to determine what route and what path is really speaking most to me, because it all speaks to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to be the type of person that is all over the place either.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know.
I have an intuition about what you just said, and it's to treat all of those activities and interests like you would your chakras. And so get into one, because one is a portal to all. So if
Okay.
you really feel, let's just take Kelly's scrapbooking, and you say, wow, that's interesting. So then immerse yourself in it and just see where it goes, rather than saying, oh, I'm going to do scrapbooking for 4 weeks, right? It's kind of like, if you just dive into one and saturate and immerse, kind of like we're doing with this journey, and then be curious. Let your curiosity take you from there and see where it goes. But again, what is in one is in the whole, and what is in the whole is in one. So all of them, I trust that all of these seemingly disparate interests are all in some way interrelated. And it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
All right, good. And Barbie is saying that she feels the same. So many different interests pulling me in all directions. That's good. And this is back to kind of my ideator journal. When I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm bubbling up. I have so much. And I have 2 different ways that I work with that. Sometimes I am doing that journal and I'm writing it down. Alicia, what I'm sensing for you is, if you want a little bit more organization because you're used to being very rooted, there's a great practical tool online called Trello. Trello.
T-L-L?
Trello.
Oh, T-R.
Ello. Trello is a great way to systematize. It's boards and cards, and you can move things around. Like when I'm doing things for work and I have a card, even for this course, I have a card of things that bubble up, like ideas, and then I log them on the card. So everything has more structure, but still you're logging and going with things that surface within you so that they're captured. So you don't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed with all these ideas and I don't know, they have a home. In a root way, they have a home. So Trello is it's a free tool.
Okay.
I use it with my whole team, and it's phenomenal, actually, professionally and personally.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Tracy is saying that her interests have converged, and I think after a while what happens is, I'm a scientist by training, and one of the things that I think science is really good for is a scientist observes patterns. Right? It's pattern recognition. What are the patterns? And once you get into one thing you really like, you start to see how things kind of, they kind of take on a life of their own, and then they start to be coupled to other things. And then you start to see the interrelationship. It's like, okay, it's not about the scrapbooking. It's about the fact that I need more connection to visual inspiration or, whatever it is. But we don't have to be so analytical about it. But there is this sense of patterns. We all have patterns that we move through. And that is really what chakras are, is it's a portal into our patterns. Okay, let's have Robin share, and then we will move on to the 7 creatives. Let's see, Robin. Oh, there you are.
One of the things that I've not done a lot of the work around the root, and something occurred to me that I hadn't ever quite seen before. I'm actually at the beginning of the phase that Alicia just described that she's coming out of, where over the next, it could be like just a couple months, but it could be a couple of years. I'm going to be transitioning out of a business that I've run for the last 17 years. And we're going to be moving from where we are to another state, as a matter of fact. But it's really unclear at this point when any of that is going to take place. And I don't think most people like transition, but I really, really don't like transition. And so it definitely feels very unrooted. But what occurred to me,
here is not good either.
Yeah,
what
Internet connection is bad here. Slow. So it's not, well, can't get on.
Here we go. Okay, I just, if you're not speaking, everyone, just make sure you're muted. I think I've just got everybody muted. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Robin.
That's okay, thanks. But what occurred to me is that there's a way that even while there's all this disruption going on, that I can still be rooted within myself. So my career may not be rooted, where I live may not be particularly rooted. You know, there's all these really high-level transitions that are going on, but I can still be grounded in myself, kind of like a micro versus a macro viewpoint of it. And so I think that that's kind of where my work at the moment is how to feel grounded personally and within myself, even while there's a lot of chaos that's going on around me.
Robin, that's brilliant. And it actually circles back to what Carol spoke about on one of our first webinars, where she was talking about kind of wanting things to be like they were and kind of the loss of external control. And I feel like you just nailed it with the root, which is all about, you know, everything is always going to be in flux. We're always going to have stress. We're always going to have upheaval. There's never a perfect time to do any course or to, you know, there's always going to be something that is going to come up for us. So all we can do is carry that centeredness, that sense of home within. And Ram Dass talks about, you know, we're all just walking each other home. And so I love that phrase within the root, because it's kind of like we as a community seeing each other as mirrors. We're coming, at least this is how one way of how I'm interpreting that, of finding home within rather than feeling the need for a physical structure, knowing that everything you need is within. And so if you do that, then your locus of control, it's more of an internal centered process and presence than it is in stress. In the fire chakra, when we get there, is all about when we feel that inner burning, because it's like everything's coming at us. And if we were in that place of centered calmness, it's like, yeah, let's just let that flow through. And that's where flow is such a great bridge for the root and fire, because it can create that swirling of centeredness within. I love that. I mean, that's such a great way to contextualize it, I think, for all of us. And maybe even if you and Alicia want to partner, at least have one conversation as you move through the flow or the fire or whatever, you know, wherever we are in our process. Since Alicia is a bit further out from it, maybe she might be able to share with you in a more one-on-one setting some of the things that you connected with, maybe some of your insights about centeredness. You know, maybe you two can have a discussion about it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
No pressure, but you know, if you feel called to do that, I'm just seeing that might be a nice partnership.
Yeah, that would be great.
Alicia is saying it would be great. She just texted. So you two can connect. Isn't it interesting? You know, and here's the thing with the partners. If there's somebody in this course who you kind of get to know through Facebook posts or through these webinars, and you say, oh, I'm just finding them so interesting, reach out and say, hey, I'd love to connect with you as part of this chakra immersion. And what are your thoughts on, you know, let's, again, honor the flow where we need to be. And when you get intuitions, when you get strong feelings about things, really to kind of go with that and go with to some level that you feel comfortable with going with, right? I've had to unlearn so many things about logic and to start to balance things with moving with that intuitive flow. Super. Okay, everybody. Great check-ins. Great check-ins. So let us do this. Wow. Okay. So let's just imagine here. Let's just do a little let's do a little visualization to make this a little bit more formal, of going from root to flow. Okay. So for the purpose of visualization, let's do what Robin was just alluding to, going inside. And one of the ways I like to go inside is just close my eyes, because otherwise I'm seeing all of you. I'm seeing the slide. I really want to be attentive to my own inner sphere and bringing in a great big breath into our root chakra area. So for me, when I feel my root, it's actually my whole body. You know, there is this sense of, you know, we're physical. For some other people, they feel it more in their low body, like their thighs, their knees, their ankles, their feet, their toes, the bottom of their feet. So if you're not sure where you kind of feel that grounded energy, maybe it's in your low belly too, you know, or maybe it's in the very base of your spine. I want you to feel out where you get a sense of groundedness in your body. So just take a second to do that. And then taking a nice deep breath into that center. And giving thanks. You can either verbalize and say thank you to this part of you, or just send a kind of a, in your thought form, in thought waves, send a thank you to all the parts of you that are physical. Sending a really big thanks to all of the parts of you that make you feel safe. Sending a thanks to your security, your sense of survival, your ability to fight or flee depending on your survival situations, your instincts. Thank goodness for your instincts. Let's give them a big thanks. Giving thanks to all of our bodily structures, so our skeleton. And as part of our skeleton, I know that some of you in this course are dealing with some teeth issues. So the teeth are part of the skeleton. So let us infuse some swirling thanks and gratitude to our entire skeleton. Everything about our skeleton, everything about the mineral structure, the mineral matrix of our body, which is so fascinating. It's so durable and seemingly solid, but yet very flexible and constantly moving and rebuilding. Let's give thanks to all of the protein that makes our body, whether it's our muscle, enzymes. Enzymes run us. They run our biochemical reactions. Let's just give a big thanks to all of those enzymes, all those little reactions, all those little proteins doing all this work. This is all part of our root. And let's finalize with a great big thanks to our DNA. And really, through that big gratitude send off, to reflect on our ancestors, to reflect on our lineage, to reflect on all the epigenetic tags that have been put on our genome because of our experiences. In some way, each of these experiences has changed us. Let's give a great big thanks to all of those experiences, all of those tags, all of our ancestors. Okay, and then wiggling our toes, coming up and out. Let us move into watery flow. We did talk about our partners already, so you have the go-ahead. Some of you have been so gracious in emailing me and asking for permission to stay with your partners. Absolutely, if that feels right for you, please do that. You do have, so I'm going to do things differently depending on what our group needs, right? And so what I was sensing was that let's try out the weekly lectures and see how you like it. I was having a sense this morning like, uh-oh, a 90-minute webinar that I just put out on the page, that's going to maybe feel overwhelming for some of you. I tried to do it in a more conversational way, see how you like that. And what I would say is whenever you listen to one of those webinars, write down in your journal things that strike you, things that you're having a reaction to, things that are triggering you, to write those in your journal. So you've got that to do. So I'm not going to go deep into introducing the flow because I did that in the 90-minute web. I really went deep into the flow, okay? So essentially, if we're thinking of the flow, let me just do this very high level. anatomically speaking, whereas the root is about protein, our flow is about fats and oils. My absolute favorite, because my PhD was on fats. So we are going to talk about water in the body, fluid, fats, and oils in the body. We're going to talk about reproductive function, but not just in the fertility sense. We're going to talk about cells replicating, healthy cell replication. We're going to talk about, this week is all about, we always start, the first week will be the high level. So what are the high level themes? The second week is when we go into the body. The third week is when we go into food, and the fourth week is synthesis. So this week we are focused on creativity, emotions, and relationships. And that's what that 90-minute webinar will go into for you, okay? I just want to mention too that I have a hunch that this is going to be a very intense month. And the reason why is because we have a solar eclipse happening tomorrow. We have a lunar eclipse. This is pretty rare to have 2 eclipses in a month. I remember we had one last summer, and now we're getting 2 of them in a month. We are also, astrologically speaking, in the time of Cancer. Cancer transitioning to Leo. Cancer is all about the moon and water and emotion. It's like, again, I didn't plan this. I did not plan to have all these things be stacking out, but they are. I do want you to take good care of yourself this month. I want you to have built-in support, whether it's emotional support. I want you to pay attention to water. You might want to have a bath. You know, for some of you, it's pretty warm where you're at and it doesn't feel comfortable to be in a bath. If you can go swimming, just water or something, whether it's drinking water, you're paying attention to water. Whereas with the root, we were paying attention to the land and earth and things that are physical. I want you to pay attention to all things water, even if it means listening to, you go on YouTube and I do this all the time. I just type in a certain thing like water meditation or water frequency music, and I just listen to running water. So everything water. Water is emotion. And what I also want us to do is pay attention to the moon. I want us to connect with the moon. One of the ideas that I gave you in the webinar is to track your emotions with the moon cycle. Okay, so you've got an emotion log that you have in your email that was sent out today, and above those emotions, I'm going to do it too, because I've actually never done this, where I've tracked the moon specifically with my daily emotion inventory. Okay. I also, one of the things I talked about was creating a chakra power animal totem. So when we went into the root, you know how the first webinar we had our power animal. And for those of you who weren't on the call, you chose your own power animal. Well, now let's move into the flow. And as I mentioned in the webinar, it doesn't have to be an animal. It might be a person. One of the things that I love cards because I'm a very visual person. And so one of the rather than using the animal cards for the root like we did, this is what I consider a great flow deck. This is called the Art Oracles. And so basically it's a card deck of all the artists, and it helps me to learn about the artists that existed. And it's, wow, look who's just cropped up. Andy Warhol, right? And then there are some themes at the bottom of the card about what that artist either said or what their philosophy was. Kind of interesting because a lot of these I'm not familiar with. So anyway, this is, we'll play with this as we go through flow this week. But I want for you to select your own, whatever you want on this totem. And maybe it's not a linear totem, it's a circle. You know, you can do circle. If you want to do triangle, you know, you pick your own shape. I like stars. So for me, I love a 5-pointed star, put things in the middle, you know, whatever your shape is. It does not have to be a line. I don't want to be so prescriptive and have so many rules about how that has to be done. But I think it's important. And it'll be important in what you come together with at the end of all of this too. All right. I know we're getting close on time. So The goal of us talking today about the flow is for me to introduce the 7 creatives. Some of you know about them because you came to the flow retreat last year, like Tracy, Markel, you would remember these 2. But you may have, I didn't focus so much on them. So with your activities, what you're going to see either on the page or on your email, and again, you can pick and choose. I really like what Kelly said about how she handled these different assignments. She said that she just picked the ones that resonated with her and she put her energy there. Really good, really intuitive. So look at your 7 creatives. There's a quiz. There's a 7 creatives quiz that you can download as a PDF. I would like you to, we have all 7 creatives within us and they're all aligned to the chakras. Some of them are really loud and clear and active in your life, and then others are more dormant. So what I'd like you to do is not judge if they're dormant or active. I just want you to see which ones are speaking to you and which ones you'd like to dialogue with, okay? And that'll come up in your journaling activity. This is also the week to track your emotions on the emotion log. And again, bringing in the moon cycle. So this is what the emotion log looks like. And I was envisioning that you can put the moon at the top or you can put it at the bottom, however you see that happening for you. I do have some reading and videos that are optional if you would like to have more. Journaling. Talk with your creative as though it was a being, right? I'm going to try a different creative. I'm going to feel, I already feel like my movement creative, I want to explore a little bit more, the dancer in me. So see what really speaks to you in that way. And if you do decide to do the partner activity, you can talk about whatever you'd like to talk about, but I do give you some ideas. And one of the things you can talk about is simply looking at your emotional patterns. Again, no playing counselor, just saying, wow, I'm noticing that I'm really angry a lot lately. It's like no judging the anger, just being with the anger. It's kind of like what Tracy was saying about being in that place of acceptance, because emotions aren't good or bad. Truly, they're messengers. They're really unique messengers. All right, so I'm going to whiz through, and you're going to have more on this because you're going to have the questionnaire. So don't think that this is the only place you're getting this information. So when I looked at the chakras and then kind of fleshed out the 7 systems, I began to see, as I got into my own creative process, that there are 7 creatives that connect to each of these systems. And if we can tap into them, we'll know what nourishes us and what depletes us. I actually created a whole 21-day course just on getting into these creatives, okay? We're not going to do that per se. We're just going to explore that. The red root chakra creative is the food creative. Some of you are true foodies, and I know that because you're really into food and nutrition, and like even your whole business is around taking pictures of food and meals and posting them. Okay, so explore if you feel like the food creative is really present and wants to come out and play. And maybe you do like a 7-day where like each day you can focus on a creative too. You can take this however you want. For the orange, this is the ultimate flowing creative. I would say that this one has been very active in my life when I paint. She's messy. She is dramatic. She likes jewelry. She likes aesthetics. She likes design. She is colorful, playful. Okay, I'm going to move through these. Yellow. Some people that say to me, Deanna, I'm not creative, they actually embody the thinking creative really strongly, but they don't recognize that as being creative. But there is a thinking creative, a strategist, a problem-solving creative. And some of us operate a lot from that spot. So that's the solar plexus chakra. The green, the expansion, the circulation, the moving creative. This is a person who likes to move, and especially in nature settings. They love to go camping. They love to dance. They love being in their bodies. They love yoga festivals. They love all that kind of like just being in their bodies and really enjoying that whole experience. So maybe this is one to explore. The speaking creative is the throat chakra creative. This is the poet. This is the one who creates prose. This is the one who thinks about how to say things in new ways. It could be a singing creative, anything that involves the mouth. For some time, I did some voice lessons, not to sing, but to play with my voice, like to really understand my voice, because everybody's voice is energy. It's their energy. Okay, so maybe playing around with that. You can have these slides, by the way, because you might want to say, like, Deanna, let me see those studies that you just flashed by, and I can give you these slides, no problem. Blue purple. This is the visual creative. This is the third eye creative. This is the brain. This is the one that wants to see, know, feel, do. It's very much connected to the flowing creative, but in a different way. It loves visual, like it doesn't have to be seen. The flowing creative needs to be seen. She needs to be visible, whereas the visual creative is more about the visual being seen. So this is the photographer. It's the painter. It's any kind of visual, really. There's no limitation on what that visual is. Maybe it's a dream worker. At the Insight retreat that we're doing in September, for people that are coming to the retreat that I'm doing, I'm having a Jungian analyst come. He's a PhD in Jungian dream analysis, and he is one of the most interesting people. So he's going to help us to understand dreams from a symbolic perspective. That would be along the lines of a visual creative, like the visuals of your dreams and what your mind is creating. So no limitations on what that means. And then the last one is the connection creative. This is the creative that truly has no bounds and is inspired through, a friend of mine is like this. It's easier probably for me to give an example. A friend of mine who takes pictures of nature, like big skies, big forests, and he looks at them as his meditation. And he feels that sense of connection. He feels like life is such a miracle. You know, it's like when you feel the greatness of your smallness when it's measured against this other macro greatness. It's a very philosophical, it might come through in so many different ways. It might come through in meditation. It's whatever gives you the sense of awe, mystery, magnitude, magic. So that's the connection creative, and that can look in a wide variety of different ways. So you will have the checklist. So you'll see what brings you that creative out and then what depletes it. Okay. So through this week, I want you to creativity, emotions with the emotion log, partnerships, because you may or may not have a partner. So this is where we're going to work this week. And yeah, that's where we're going to be. Those are the 7 creatives. Just think, you know, chakras are my operating system, right? And so I'm seeing everything through that lens. And so if we can look at emotions through each of the chakras. We can look at partnerships through each of the chakras. The natural fit for me is to look at creative expression through each of these portals. So I want you to explore that for yourself this week. Okay, any questions before we come to a close? Any smiles? Any feeling of like, ooh, juicy creativity, I can get into this, or ew, that means I have to make time for creativity, and that's not productive.
I had a quick question.
Tammy, yes.
Yeah, I was wondering about, is the lymph part of root, or is it part of flow? The lymph system and the flow of the lymph.
Yeah,
interest to me.
Yes, it's kind of a hybrid. I do put it under the love system because it's very connected to, structurally. So, I mean, the lymph is really throughout the body. It is about flow, and it does have a lot of fats within it. It's what carries the fat components of the body, which is why those things don't go into the blood. So I kind of see it as between flow and love because it circulates within us. So just like blood circulates, it's very rooty. So I address it within flow, within this course. And in fact, I bring in, when we get into the body, I have a whole thing on fascia and lymph.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Just a little bit of getting you thinking along those lines.
Deanna, in the botanical hippie herby world, lymph is definitely part of the flow. I just wanted to throw that in.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah. And keeping it moving, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's essential. And it's so fatty, oily, yellow in color. Like if you actually, I mean, so it so embodies energetically much of that. Good question, Tammy. Thank you, Tracy. Okay, anything else? So before you sign off, just type in the chat whether you feel excited about the flow, or you don't have excitement about the flow. I have to say I'm really excited about the flow. I'm sure I'm not holding back in any way. Okay, excited, Alicia. Jane is curious and up for going with it. Kelly is super excited. Lisa, I love that. Kelly is saying, looking forward to what flows out of the flow. I love it. Standing ovation. Robin, yes, excited to explore different aspects of creativity. Alma, very happy to work on the flow. Actually, today I was thinking I should work more on my creativity. Mary Ellen, very excited. Okay, let's flow, ladies. Off we go. All right, take care. Have a wonderful rest of your evening or day, and we'll meet again in 2 weeks, and we're going to spend this week on these important topics. Take care. Bye.